Hello and welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja Dwivedi, and in this segment today we are going to talk about the border dispute between Assam and Mizoram. So if we talk about the border dispute, these are the topics that we are going to cover step by step. The first one being, why is it in the news? So in a totally avoidable circumstance, the wanton violence which occurred near the borders of Assam and Mizoram, they were totally avoidable, but it did not happen so because a small clash between the village groups of Mizoram and Assam between the borders of these two states, this snowballed into a violence, killing 6 cops, police cops, and 50 individuals. So this is what we are going to talk about. It happened in the region of Variante in Mizoram. This is the region very close to the borders of Assam and Mizoram. And if we talk about the clashes, they were very minor clashes. Minor clashes, it grew into of such a might, capacity and magnitude, killing cops. And because of that, the CMs of these two states, they sparred publicly on Twitter, tagging each other. Also, the CM of Assam has asked Mizoram, to have restraint. And Mizoram wants Assam to have a proper diplomatic solution, which is, of course, it's possible. If we talk about these states, the state of Assam and Mizoram. Assam is the state in Northeast which shares boundary with each state in Northeast. It shares its boundaries with Mizoram, then we have Tripura, Meghalaya, Manipur, Nagaland and Arunachal Pradesh. Reason being that it was a big state, and after independence, many smaller states were carved out because of tribalism, sectarian tribalism, and the needs and necessities of them. So if we talk about Nagaland, Nagaland shares a 500-kilometer boundary, and this actually was carved out in the year 1963, and since 1965 there has been clashes regarding boundary. And then you also talk about Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram. Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram both were carved out in the year 1987 by their respective States Act. Arunachal Pradesh shares a boundary of 800 kilometers, and clashes have been occurring here since 1992 with Assam regarding the boundary. Then we have Meghalaya. Meghalaya was carved out in the year 1972, and there are 12 disputed territories. When we talk about the dispute between Assam and Meghalaya, there are 12 territories. So these are the issues. Now if we talk about the chain of events, what has happened, let's have a look at it. First, last October 2020, Assam police, they allegedly visited Sahipur in Mizoram and threatened to blockade the interstate highway. Then it was blockaded by individuals at Lailapur in Assam. In November, bombings happened at Upper Phenuam Lower Primary School in Mizoram, and a peace meeting was held between the two states. Several huts and small shops were torched and violent clashes occurred. In 21, a team of around 200 Assam police led by IGP Assam Police and DCSP DFO of Kashar traveled to Variante auto rickshaw stand on Monday. Now, there are two sides of the story. Both of the states have their own version. The Assam state, the state of Assam, the CM has said that the police force went to calm down the clashes, asked them to have restraint. But Mizoram says that the police entered their premises forcefully, and because of that clashes occurred. And the entire issue is that boundary dispute that is occurring, it is causing issues in the inner line reserve forest, for which Assam has also moved to the Supreme Court. Then Delhi also has stepped in order to help Assam. And of course, the Ministry of Home Affairs, Amit Shah, he held meetings closed doors with the CMs, talking to both of them and talking in order to restrain themselves for any clashes to occur. Moving on, if we talk about the brief history, it dates back to colonial era when the British actually carved out the regions in Northeast according to their own administrative and economic convenience. But this dispute has been raging even after independence. This couldn't be settled, and Assam became a constituent state of India from where different states were carved out, because of which so much of issue is happening. The single dispute of boundary dispute, if we talk about with respect to Mizoram, Mizoram was known as Lushai Hills in British era, right? So when Kashar plains of Assam and Lushai Hills, they were demarcated, they were separated in the year 1875, beg your pardon, under Bengal Eastern Frontier Provinces, okay, of 1873. Under that, when Lushai Hills and Kashar Plains were separated, this was agreed to by Mizoram. And in the year 1933, when Manipur was separated from Lushai Hills and Kashar, what happened? The Mizoram government says, and the tribes there say, that their chieftains were not consulted, and because of that, they are not agreeing to the demarcation of 1933. Whereas, now, the simplest of the simple thing is that Mizoram talks about having a boundary on the basis of the demarcation of 1875 and Assam talks about 1933. So, there is no agreed upon to line there. That is why disputes keep on happening, because the borders are fluid and encroachments occur. First challenge that we need to understand is there is no consensus on boundary, and that is why encroachments occur. Diplomatic solution is needed here. Multiple disputes Assam has, because Assam was a big state, small, so many tribal, because of tribalism, so many regions were carved out that it is straddled with so many disputes. Then we have regionalism, sons of the soil theory holds water here. The land for the resident, even if they are not within the boundary premises of that region. Regionalism is very important for politicization of the matter, because for short-term victories, politicians do that. So that is something here as a challenge, politicization of such matters. Also violence, wanton violence, unnecessary violence overshadowing the actual dispute. The actual diplomacy that is needed here is talks on a table and not clashes. Moving on to the way forward. The first way forward is diplomatic solutions, of course, should be prioritized. The center can, under 263, talk about interstate dispute resolution. Then withdrawal of politicization of issue, and curbing regionalism is also very important. Emotions should not drive something which is more practical. Then Supreme Court's role, of course, the states of Meghalaya, the state of Nagaland, and now the state of Assam and Mizoram will also be going to Supreme Court. The states of Nagaland and Meghalaya have, Arunachal Pradesh have already went there, and now we also have the state of Mizoram. Okay, so Supreme Court's role is there. Moving on to the main spaced question, which says, what is regionalism? And we have to discuss about it in the light of the recent boiling boundary dispute between Assam and Mizoram. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.